about the Destin Fishing Rodeo. Of course, my name is Tim Broom with Half Inch Tackle, and we have Kevin Benton with us tonight from Pure Fishing. He's going to be telling you all about some cool new products that are out there that we were really hoping that would be available for the rodeo, but now it looks like they're kind of delayed about 4 weeks or so.
Looks like the 30 size, sorry, forgot about mine. The 30 size will be available late October, and then the 50s in November.
So,
and the 80s will follow that.
Yeah. And originally we thought after the ICAST show that these would start showing or start shipping on the 15th of this month. But just like a lot of new products, everything is delayed right now. It's just stuff doesn't seem to get there on time. But we're going to talk about those in a minute. But main thing, you know, we're going to, a lot of the things that we're going to cover tonight are going to be about the rodeo and how to make you be better in the rodeo. And, you know, the rodeo can be about ounces, not pounds. So we're going to talk about a lot of things that should help you out to improve your catches, improve the size of your catches and the quality of your catches. But for now, I'm going to turn it over to Kevin for a little bit and let him tell you about the new Fathom electric reels. You know, if any of y'all have not fished with an electric reel, there's a lot of different electric reels out on the market right now. You know, we've had some Shimano's out for a while, some Daiwa's out, and there's Banex that are in the market. All of the current product that's out there requires some sort of external power, whether that be an external battery like a car battery or a portable battery or a plug system. The new Penn Fathoms are the first fully self-contained unit, and they're very affordable. So this is, you know, I know that, well, today is a good example. My anglers today I had one that was 53 and the other two were both senior citizens. And we fished out there in some 360-foot water today, and they struggled. Even with that bent butt rod right there with a Talica 50 and the amberjacks we were catching, where they could just leave it in the rod holder, Chase was still over there hand lining the fish so they could reel it. And this, you know, this little 30 size right here, the ladies and the kids can fish with this on their own. So Kevin, tell us about it.
So Tim kind of told you the big feature. It is self-contained. It does have your battery. Everybody always asks price, so $800 to $900 complete. So it comes with a battery, comes with a charger, comes ready to go. So you can literally go out the door, put some line on it, go fish. Unique features to this is one thing Tim said, so your battery pack is here. So if you're used to a DeWalt or a Makita or some kind of rechargeable tool system, it works on the same concept. Rechargeable battery runs anywhere from 4.5 to 6 hours. Takes about 2 hours to recharge. The same battery in all units, so if you decide you want a 30 and then get a 50, you don't have to get new batteries. The same battery works in all the same models. We think the 30 size is going to be a lot for kite fishing, maybe some lighter applications, stand up. The 50 that I'm holding here, and also the 80 more for your stay in a rod holder, bent butt, bottom fish, probably exclusively. Other unique features to this one is a lever drag. Every other one on the market today is a star drag. So you know you go this way to get more drag, but you don't know what your drag setting is. With a lever drag, you can set your drag range. You also, if you get in trouble, you can get out really fast. Hey, I've got a green fish to the boat. Whoa, just back your drag off. You're there. So it just saves you some issues there. One of my favorite features is, you can come up later and look at this, is a kind of a cocked level one. So it's large enough for all your attachments, swivels, knots, leaders can all go through here, but it's also the way it's angled, it'll stack your line very tightly. This is going to be a braid only reel, so we're promoting it that way. This particular model holds 1,500 yards of 50 braid. So when you think about that, that's yards. We generally fish in feet, but we do reels in yards. When you say 1,500 yards, you got 4,500 feet. So you've got plenty of line to go wherever you want to go.
So Why can't, you're promoting it as a braid only reel, but can I use mono on it?
We're saying no on the spool. If you want a top shot, yes. It's just because of capacity and also the way it compacts with mono versus braid, the way it stacks in, is not a good idea to have mono on these.
Okay.
Why not? What does the mono do?
The way it stacks in here differently, it compresses different under load from an electric reel than it does from a manual.
Or would it mess up the spindle?
It's probably going to not mess it up, but it could slip or pinch or bind. And the last thing I want you to do is miss a fish. So let's eliminate that issue. One other unique feature to this one is this is electric. So we own Hooker Electric. So if those of you are familiar with Hooker Electrics, probably the premier electric big size reel. We've just downsized that motor, so it's still a Hooker quality, just in a smaller package. But it is a manual or electric. It's not electric assist. So you have to make a decision. So most of you are familiar with the 2-speed. We use this 2-speed button, but it's engage, disengage. It's not really 2-speed. It's either electric or manual. And then I can go through the features. A couple of big ones is this picks up at 400 to 500 feet per minute. So depending on where you're fishing, you can have your fish in pretty darn quick.
What's the gear ratio?
I think it is 4:8 to 1, but at speed, it's coming in. I think the competitors I see out there are in the 200 range. You manually cranking at your best speed is probably 70 feet. So we're 4 to 5 times faster.
Is the motor, does it have a rheostat? Is there a way to slow it down?
Yes, it's fully able to do
I don't have
that.
to get 400 feet a minute?
You do not. You have fully adjustable from maybe 100 feet a minute, 50 feet a minute. We can definitely change all that for you. I'll just give you a quick idea of how it sounds and looks. So this one is set up. I have to zero it out. So I'm going to do a quick, if I was fishing, first thing I would do is let out some line. Because what happens is I don't want zero to be at the boat. I want zero to be probably top of the surface. Because I don't want that lead coming up into my rod. I want it to come up and then stop. You have the option on here of 5 different settings. So if you want it at 10 feet, 20 feet, 50 feet, you have some options. So I rolled this out to about 50. So I've got it preset to 20 is just what I put it on, but you can adjust that if you choose. So when I engage this, it'll go to half speed at 20 and then stop on 0. So I'm going to slow it so you can hear what slow is, but you can, and it'll alarm when it gets to the slow down. And the slow down's coming in at 180 revolutions a minute. So I would suggest 90% of the time you should stay in auto stop so that you don't break any rods, so that it will stop. You've got time to gaff. Oh, it's a fish we're going to release, which is very important these days. Hey, that needs to go back. Okay, I see what it is. Make that decision, not here it comes over and I got to put it back. These are in the $800 to $900 range, complete. These are the 3 sizes. We do have some accessories, so if you do not want to use the battery, you do have the option of a plug-in to a cord with 2 jacks. You have a plug-in that goes to a Hubble, so if your boat's already wired and you can plug it directly into a Hubble, great, we've got it already wired that way. We also, it comes with a standard 1 battery charger, and then we make a 4 battery charger as an accessory. So if you bought several of these, like, I don't want to do these one at a time. I want to do them all at one time.
What's
Go.
an extra battery going to cost?
$99. So very affordable compared to whatever's out there today.
If you think about it, if you went and bought a DeWalt battery, they're going to be $199.
Yeah.
Is the charger AC only, or can you plug it into USB?
It is AC only. Somebody's already asked, could I put that on a converter or a USB? An inverter. I don't know the answer to that. I need to check with the engineers and make sure before I tell you okay. 110 is I know good. I don't know about the others.
You should be able to use it, invert something.
If you've got inverted on a big boat, yes, but you can't plug it in like a cigarette lighter.
Correct.
Because somebody asked, can I plug it in a cigarette? It's like it's electric, it's not battery, technically.
Just to charge the battery.
Just to charge the battery part, correct. And I'll have these up here so you can kind of walk around, touch them, feel them. If you had an International 16 reel, that's about the weight of these, about 4 to 4.5 pounds. So it's not light, but it's not so bulky that you couldn't stand it. My favorite feature is if you hooked up a fish, the captain just goes, walk to the front of the boat. Like, what do I need to do? Just walk to the front of the boat. You don't have to unhook anything, no disconnects. Oh, I can just walk. Yes, you can. Just take it and go. Because it'll go with you, the battery's with you, you don't have any other wires, attachments, anything else to deal with.
No cord or 12-volt battery.
Nothing to shuffle, just move them to the front. There is a memory somebody did ask about if, well, what if I'm in mid-fish and the battery dies? Hopefully you've got an extra battery, but just pop it in, pop it back. It has a slight memory. It's got about a 15-minute memory built in, so it won't forget where you were mid-fight. You can put it in and it'll save all your settings, and you just keep going right on. Now between uses, it's going to reset, but as long as you're in use, it'll stay with whatever you've got it set on. And the screen is very easy. I can demonstrate that. It's hard to do with a group. But if you want to see that later, I'll be glad to show you how easy it is. You can set your line diameter, your distance alarm. You can set if you want a white background with black letters, you want a black background with the white letters. Maybe you see it better visually, or maybe it's just a daytime, nighttime thing. You also have, do you want it in feet? Do you want it in meters? You have about 6 or 7 options. Tim has got them, I know, on order, so they should have them, probably one of the first people that'll have them. So late October for the 30 size, the 50 will come in like a week and a half, 2 weeks behind that, and then the 80 will be right behind that.
And it's one that I think we're going to sell a lot of them for its portability. It's just the ease of use, because we sell a lot of electric reels now. You know, I remember when we first started with electric reels, you know, probably 15, 20 years ago, you know, at first we'd sell 5 a year, then it was 8 or 10. We're selling hundreds of electric reels now. And there's no doubt that I think this is going to be one of our most popular electric reels because it's so portable, all self-contained. And that's why I wanted Kevin to come down tonight and show everybody these firsthand, you know, kind of get a quick glimpse before most of the, so many of the people in the market don't even know that this exists yet. And if I remember right, it was Best in Show at ICAST.
It won Best Saltwater Reel. So in the fishing industry, we have a big show called ICAST. It won Best Saltwater Reel out of all reels. And then it won Best out of the entire show, better than any kayak, electronics, bait, lure, line. Take every category, it won Best Overall Innovation. So you'll see a lot of stuff media-wise probably in the next 6 months talking about it.
As size increases other than capacity,
That's
line
really,
and spool diameter, is it horsepower as well?
you get a little bit with drag. So this is 30, so it's easy to remember the 30 is 30. The 50 is 35, this is 40.
So the motor doesn't get more powerful?
It does get a little more powerful, but it also has drag. So they match, they go together.
They go together.
So think kind of a motor is kind of like in a car, a motor and transmission, they need to work together. So these will. We did have it slip on about a 200-pound Mako. I had one slip on a 100-and-something pound yellowfin. But soon as we got the fish turned back toward the boat, it went right back to working. It just bogged down. I hope y'all get bogged down. I hope they're all 200-pound fish. I hope that's great. But yeah, I have had it bogged down, but I haven't had it stop.
Well, is that the same reel that Tim's got the picture of?
Yes,
It
sir.
looks a different color there.
I think it's just a picture, but it is the same reel.
Yeah, it's just going to be silver. So it's called Fathom Electric, built off our Fathom 2-speed frame, and then the power from our Hooker family created. These are going to be independent channel only, so that's something to consider. You won't probably find these at your small bait shops. These will be independent, larger tackle stores only. So when you're looking, just keep that in mind. Because you're probably going to need a little education. It doesn't take long, maybe 30 minutes and you can be good to go. But I'd rather somebody who knew fishing and teaches fishing would be the person to show it to you versus I went to a store, there was a clerk, he said, here, what do you know about it? Here. I need some help. Yeah, I need a little help here. I'd rather you had a professional teach you because we want you to have a good experience. Tim mentioned the reason you need an electric reel. When we originally did electric reels for, like Tim said, 5-6 years ago, it was deep drop, it was swordfish, it was tile fish, it was all this. I don't know how many of y'all have been snapper fishing and came back with heads. If you're hand cranking, let's see, that fish is coming up at 70 at the fastest. And my fish is coming up at 400. Which one's the shark or dolphin going to get first? I got a feeling I'm winning. So Tim's getting heads, I'm getting fish. I'm going to bet on fish.
And we caught 3.5 amberjack today.
3.5?
Yeah. We actually brought home the half. I have a picture of it. I can find it on my phone. It had a perfect circular bite out of it. We had the head and the tail. We still got, even though we had a big chunk out of him, we still managed to get a gallon Ziploc of fillets out of the part that was left.
And you can bear free too, that's nice.
Yeah. But yeah, we had 3.5.
3.5. So you got 1 gallon Ziploc and the shark got 3.
Yeah.
3 gallon Ziplocs, okay.
And he had the best part. He had the shoulders of it. Of all the
Of course he
things.
does. They always know where the gill plate is.
He had the best part.
One other item to share with you, we do have the new Battle 4s, so if you're familiar with our battle reels, there is a new version, Battle 4. The biggest change, other than cosmetically, is we are adding water seals. So on your main cross shaft from the handle to the little cap, there's 2 water seals, 1 on each side. Then on your main shaft, there's 2 below the spool and 1 above the spool. We're not trying to make it a sealed reel, but if I can keep water out even a little bit, that's just a little bit more than it was. And the price is still in that $129 to $179 range for the reel. Combos are usually $20 to $30 more depending on which rod. And then we also have a LE version, which is going to be split grip and this custom color, whereas the traditional pins are going to be full grips and usually EVA foam or cork. But that's just the new Battle 4s. And we'll have these up after the sonar, so if you want to walk by, touch them, feel them, I brought them so you could touch them. Tim, what else have you got?
That's all, the electric reels. Unless y'all got, anybody got questions?
Yeah, I'd be glad to do questions.
All right.
What's the price difference in the 3?
$7.99, $8.50, $8.99. So it's not a big difference between the 3. Because actually the reels they're based off are about that same price difference. So it's not a huge difference.
You can end up with a reel and a spare battery and still be under $1,000 on any of the sizes. And
Yes.
anything else you go out there on in the marketplace and buy, you're going to be at, by the time you buy batteries or cables and the electric reel, you're going to be at a higher price with anything else that's really out there on the market.
And it's from 3 different vendors in most cases. So you're getting your battery, your charger, your reel. It's all in one place, not, well, I hope this matches up with this brand, but I think this cable will work. But then the cable guy and the battery guy are maybe not the same guy. So now I've got a cable guy, a battery guy, a reel guy, and you got to put parts together. You're ready to go.
Do we have the same service schedule as a regular Fathom?
Definitely needs to be rinsed every trip, and I would say yes, because everything on this side of the reel is a Fathom. We have about 43 warranty centers in the country for pin. We have 5 for pin electric, and Half Hitch Panama City is one of those. So if you should need any kind of service work or repairs, the one in Panama City, which you can drop it here and it can go there. They are a service center. There's one in Miami. There's one in, of course, our plant in Philadelphia. And then there's 2 on the West Coast. But it's got a 1-year warranty too, just so if somebody asks. It's got a 1 year.
I assume the 80 would use more battery power than the 30.
No,
Not really?
not much. I mean, it might be a little bit. That's why we say 4.5 to 6 hours. So I'd say if you're a good fisherman, you're probably closer to 4.5 because you're hooking up a lot. If you're missing a few fish, then, you know, If it's big fish, it's going to put more stress on it. If you're catching snapper, you may go 8 hours. You may go all day catching snappers. If you're catching amberjacks and they're in the 30, 40 range, it might be a good bit less. So I would recommend everybody buy at least one extra battery, and then you decide from that, hey, I've got a half day and a half day. Do I need more than that?
It's full electric though, you say. There is no assist.
No assist.
That means
You,
you choose one or the other.
Correct.
Whatever it's on, it's that all the way through.
No, you can shift and fight if you so choose. Because I have a lot of people like to hook their fish manually.
Yes.
I want to hook it. I feel it. Yep, got a good set. Okay, flip switch. Now we go electric. Or the other way around. If you want to get him out of the rocks and you want to fight this fish the whole trip, power to you.
Does the display show the battery life on it?
It does. So very similar to your cell phone as far as the display. 5 bars, 20% each. Kind of guess where you are in the life. The one that's up here, I've had charged one time since August. And after all the demos I've done, we're down 1 bar. So I've had this in 50, 55 plus seminars, and we're still at 1 bar's gone off. Now I'm not fighting fish, of course, but it holds life pretty well.
All the batteries are the same?
They are. 1 battery. We don't tout it on there, but it's built by Samsung. This battery's been out pretty good while. It just was not used in fishing. So we just found a guy who built good batteries and said, bring that along.
Y'all have recommendations on rods, glass, or graphite, or?
That was kind of a bad on our move. We have a line of electric rods coming in January. But for now, I'd take whatever Tim recommends. We do have an ally rod, but he's probably got some other stuff he could show you as well.
no. You need glass.
I think glass is probably
You
the
want
best.
something that's got, because you got so much power coming with the electric part, you need something that's going to be really flexible and bendy, or you're going to pull a lot of hooks.
Hook bottle.
Yep. Well, cool. We'll get Chase up here, and we're going to give him your microphone for a little bit there.
I don't
And,
know if I'll need it.
Okay. Want to tell you about we've talked about this before, but a new division that's in the rodeo is the Return 'em Right division, and this division is on snappers, groupers, snappers, red groupers, and guy groupers. You can have 1 entry per week, and because those fish are basically closed season right now, we want to promote the proper care and release of those fish. And correct me if I'm getting any of this wrong, Mark. But it's those 3 species. You get 1 entry per week, and you need to catch the fish, and then once you catch it, you're going to use the Return 'em Right device to release the fish. You need the full video of that, and you email it to the Destin Fishing Rodeo. That's your entry. And each week, everybody who enters a release on one of those 3 species, their name's going to go into a hat, and at the rodeo banquet, we're going to draw out 1 name, a name for each week, and you're going to win a $200 or $500? $200 a week prize. But so you're going to have a chance to win a prize, but you're also going to learn to properly release fish all year long so that we have a better survival rate of the ones that we do need to release. And in everybody's chair, there's a Huggy and a business card, and it has a QR code on it if you haven't gotten your release kit already. This is a $100 release kit that you're going to get for free.
Yeah, so I did this today. Actually, I went fishing all day with Tim, and I sit down at 3:55 with my iPad, scan the QR code, and in 16 minutes, passed the test, watched all the videos, give my address, and my kit's on its way.
I
Okay,
thought you
so,
would say, I got it.
well, they sent us some to show y'all. So this is a grant from the federal government from the University of Florida. That's how this is getting put out. Okay? You do the paperwork on the internet, they'll send this to you. All right? The lipper has 3 pressures. Okay? And it's a simple rotation. And has a cog. spin it back in. 50 foot, 100 foot, 150 foot. Okay? So when we're fishing out there and everybody's seen it, you think when you blow the air bladder up on that fish, that's what's sticking out of its mouth. It's actually the fish's stomach. That's why you should never puncture it. The air bladder pushes the stomach out of the mouth. By using this device and putting that fish back under pressure, air bladder shrinks, stomach retracts, fish can swim off. Okay? It's a much better method than even venting. If you have to vent.
And how many of y'all have vented a fish, vented one, threw him overboard, and he still floated out there, went and got him, dip netted him up, vented him again, threw him back over. He'll swim down for a second, he'll come right back up. I know I've done it 3 or 4 times with a single fish.
So it's simple as lipping the fish.
Just like the photo up here.
And dropping the fish to death. It does take a dedicated rod and reel, unless you want to re-rig one every time. But this is a very effective way to save our species. Because if we don't, they're going to keep restricting. And it's only going to get worse. So we should practice being the anglers. We should take care of our own species. Because we're the ones out there pulling them up from 300 feet. And we can't get them back down. But yet we can't keep them. I mean, the FWC doesn't care if you throw one overboard and it floats off. You need to be able to put them back on the bottom so they survive.
And tell them about the other little.
This is the secondary device that you're going to get in the kit. So you will simply slide your fish on. When you drop it like that, fish gets trapped here, down. When you start to reel up, fish slides right off the hook. Simple as that. So, and it does it on its own because of weight. It's very simple. Anybody can do it.
And you get both pieces in your kit, and we're of course going to have. We have one kit. We have one full kit as part of our door prizes tonight, so we'll be giving one away. But like I say, this is a $100 kit, and you can go on, just go on, scan the little QR code, watch the video, take the little test, and in less than a week, you're going to have one at your house if you don't already have one.
Pretty awesome. Electric reels are great for lowering those things down and bringing them back.
Oh yeah.
I like
See?
electric reels for
I
lake
like the way this dude thinks about that.
I keep a dedicated electric reel just for that, set up, ready to go with a hook on it. As soon as our guys bring them up, if it needs to go back down, we hook it on. After a few times during the day of them reeling that 3-pound weight back up, they want to start venting again, and you're like, no, you got to reel them up. And so I just put the electric reel out there for them, and they know to go right to it, hook it up, drop it down, let it bring it back up.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Leader with a live bait on it, with the camera and fish well, so the other fish comes off.
There you go.
Especially in 400 foot.
So we have, anybody got questions about the kits and how they work and why we should have them? Nope. All right. That was easy. So, on to actual fishing part. Now, this is kind of an open forum seminar. We're talking a lot about the rodeo, so if you have questions or if it's something I'm going over or something I'm not, but my thought tonight process was to do things a little bit different and tell you about how to win things in the rodeo. And we all know that gaffing a fish, this is our most common way of getting a fish in the boat. But with all these species that we catch, they lose 10% is the average during the first hour from the time you catch it, measure it, put it in the fish box with all the perfect conditions. They still lose 10%. Well, a bad gaff shot where you hit a lot of vital organs and not just meat in the fish, that reduces that weight loss is even more dramatic. So, there is a proper way to gaff a fish and a wrong way. This is the correct way. If we want to gaff a fish and have the least amount of blood loss and other things, we want to gaff the fish up here in the meat of the fish. We want to go across his back and stick in. You're not hitting vital organs. Yes, he's going to bleed, but not like if you gaffed him like this. This fish is gaffed in the belly. This fish is going to bleed horrifically. It's going to look like that in the back of your boat, and every ounce of that blood on the deck is 1 ounce or 2 ounce or a pound or however much more that fish would have weighed at the scale. Now, during cobia season, and I pulled these pictures out of our regular cobia seminar, because it's really same thing in cobia fishing. Cobia fishing, we do a lot of tournaments. While it's not as easy as gaffing a fish, if you really want to preserve the weight of your fish, netting a fish is the way to go. If you can get the fish up beside the boat, take a small hand gaff, reach over and get him right in the lip here where he's not going to lose anything, and drag him over that way. But if you're unable to do that, there's just nothing better than actually having a net on board. I hate nets. There's nowhere to store them. Bait rigs get tangled in them. Everything is a mess. I hate nets. But when we're tournament fishing, it's something you really probably ought to have on board. If you're just out here fishing the rodeo for the fun of doing it and getting your picture made with Miss Destin and getting a few fish up on the board, okay, you probably don't need to go to this trouble. But if you're out there, if your intent is, I'm going to go catch this species, I'm going to put him in that slot on that board, and I'm going to win today, this is going to make a difference. This is not the best of photos for this, but what this is showing, I think most people, they go to the store and they buy a couple bags of ice, or maybe they carry some block ice. There is nothing more important, or as important as having enough on the boat is ice. If that fish gets hot, he's going to lose weight. Properly icing your fish. Now, when we first start fishing, you can see in this one, this is a much better photo, that they've built a slush brine. You want to go to Harbor Walk in the mornings and get his ice. Comes in a big tub. I think it's, what is ice now, $12 a tub? It's $12 for a giant tub. If you go to the Jiffy Mart, you get, most Jiffy Marts are about $3.49 for a 7-pound bag of ice. So for $12, you get, barely 4 bags of ice. And that's less than 30 pounds. Well, that big giant tub at Harbor Walk, that's 100 pounds of ice for the same amount of money. Now, I say it's $12, it's really going to cost you $20, because they got these little girls on the dock that go, when you pull up, you tell them I want a tub of ice or 2 tubs of ice. Don't jip my little girls, man. They work hard. They're going to go to that ice machine. They're going to shovel that ice into that bucket. They're going to roll it out to your boat. They're going to help you load it. And in most cases, I bet you they're better at loading it on your boat than you are, because they're stronger than you. Them little girls at Harbor Walk are bad. But have plenty of ice. When you first start fishing, you can just have make sure there's a plug in your ice box. Don't have the plug out. Put the plug in, make sure it's plugged. When you first start fishing, you can just have the ice in there. The ice will last longer if you just have ice in there. catch your first couple of fish and throw them on top of just the ice that's in there. When you get ready to go to your next spot, get your saltwater washdown hose and fill that ice box with water. So you got a slush brine in there. Ice is at 32 degrees. When you put that salt water in there, the salt water lowers the freezing point of the ice. That slush brine is going to be about 28 to 26 degrees. And instead of your fish just laying on top of the ice, if you got your fish just laying in there, I promise you on a hot day, walk out there one day, put your hand on top of the fish that's laying on the ice after he's been in there for 20 or 30 minutes, flip him over and touch the other side. The side that's laying on the ice, it's cold. The side that's not on the ice, just out in the open air, that side of the fish is going to be considerably warmer. Well, that's drawing moisture out of that fish, which is drawing weight out of that fish. Also, your fish is going to taste so much better has it been in a slush brine. You can see where they got the slush brine made up, just stuffing the tuna in there. This was a picture off the American Spirit party boat where they're coming in at the end of the day. You can see how much they got a slush brine built up in there. Again, I don't know how well that shows up for y'all out there, but
Those are catfish.
those are triggerfish. No, those are catfish. Why do they have a catfish on the American Spirit?
Tourists.
Well, I don't know, but we caught a black drum today in 350 feet of water. It's the second time that's happened to me this year, and how in the world there's a black drum out there in 350 feet, I don't know. But, so, having a net and having proper ice. If you gaff a fish and you have made a really big hole in that fish and that fish is bleeding out, there's two things you can do to help save some weight. Take some paper towels, roll them up super tight, make a little plug, stuff that in the hole. That will greatly reduce how much blood is coming out of that fish. The one product that you can buy that does the same thing, pardon me on this one, tampons work great. Stick one in the hole of the fish. Bait. If we want to go out in the rodeo and just catch random fish. You know, years ago we used to have the SKA King Mackerel tournament that came through town. You know, it's funny, these people would come in, you get the professional guys that are fishing the SKA circuit, and you got other people that are coming in and they're just entering into the tournament to go fishing. And they're the guys that normally come in on the weekend and they buy a box of frozen cigar minnows. Well, because it's the tournament, they're going to buy 2 boxes of frozen cigar minnows. No. You know, we fish with cigar minnows and herring all summer long. They're great baits most of the time. If you want quantity of fish, there's nothing better than cigar minnows and live cigar minnows, live herring. And today at the pass, there was 1,000,000 baits, and they were so easy to catch. And they're all about this big. I mean, little bitty peanuts. We caught 40 or 50 of them and went, oh, let's go. We got to go find bigger bait. And we finally found some bigger cigar minnows. But even still, that wasn't going to work for what, our target species today were to get some amberjack, to be able to put on, I personally think amberjack's going to close before the end of the month. So you need to get on the leaderboard early. And that was our goal today, was to go out there and get some. And I have no idea if they're still on the board or not, but when we left the rodeo dock in the private boat division, we were in first and second place for amberjack. they're not big enough to win for the month. I mean, our big fish today was 45 pounds. That's not going to win, but we're at least, I mean, my anglers are happy they got to be on the leaderboard today. But those aren't going to win. But there are, there's all kind of places. The county has built all the little snorkel reefs along the beach. Just happens to be one of them. If you can't catch bait around the pass, in both directions from the pass, there's these little snorkel reefs. A lot of times these were holding bigger baits than the pass was holding this morning. So that's something that you can go check. So we've talked about sabiki rigs over and over and over. But the Hayabusa sabiki rigs, this is what we use for catching our normal cigar minnows and hardtail, or cigar minnows and herring. Like right now, I want bigger baits. So I made, Chase put out some pinfish traps for us last night. We had a good supply of pinfish today. They were, anywhere from 4 to 8 inch baits. We only pulled 2 of the traps this morning. Chase had put out 3 traps. But just out of the first 2 we pulled, we had 60 baits. So we just left the other trap in the water. We didn't even need the ones from that. But I like these are some owner bait rigs, and they're considerably bigger. They're 3 or 4 times the size of a regular sabiki rig hook. And when I'm going and targeting larger baits, this is one of the sabiki rigs that I really like to have. The small ones that we typically use for cigar minnows and herring, those, they just bait the bigger baits, they break the hooks off, they bend the hooks. We need a bait rig with a much bigger hook.
Is that like a 4?
Yeah, this is probably, they're not all the hooks are sized the same, but these are not quite as big as a dime. They're almost as big as of a hook that you would normally use for mingo and triggerfish. But when I talk about bigger baits, there's just, there's ruby lips, squirrelfish, mullet, hardtails, pigfish, and mingo snappers. Today we predominantly had mingos. We caught a couple pigfish. We only had 2 hardtails. We did not have any mullet today. We had some squirrelfish, and we had mostly ruby lips. The amberjacks today, while some days pinfish work good for bait, they weren't so thrilled about the pinfish today. I don't know that do you think we caught one on a pinfish?
I think Todd's was on the pinfish.
Okay.
The others were all mingoes
Yeah.
and ruby red lips.
Mingoes and rubies worked good today. I think we caught 3.5 keeper amberjacks. We caught another 6 that were about like 32 to 33 inch fish, and then we broke off probably a dozen. And I'm telling you, with the size of some of the jacks that are out there right now, we were fishing with 100-pound leader today. Tomorrow I'll have 125 and 150-pound leader. We did not have big enough tackle today. I mean, we got our rear ends handed to us over and over. And we were fishing that Talica 50 in a rod holder just as it sits there, and just pow, pow. It was horrible. But the ruby lips and the mingos, you want to hook them. Normally when we're doing like cigar minnows and herring and stuff, we hook them right in front of the little eye socket. On the ruby lips and the mingos, bottom jaw up through the top of his nose. Use a big enough hook. If you use too small of a hook, it pinches his mouth closed. He doesn't breathe very good. They won't live very long. But a little bit bigger hook so he can kind of open and close his mouth even though he's hooked through the lips. Really, really helps. But having a big enough bait, and it doesn't matter if we're fishing for amberjacks or snappers on the weekend. If groupers are open right now, of course scamps are open, Warsaw grouper are open. They really like a bigger profile bait. And I think I have a slide in here. One of the most favored things for big snapper, big grouper, it's not so much of a jack bait, but bonita slabs. Somewhere between a half and a quarter of a bonita. So if we took a fillet off and cut that fillet in half, that's what I would say by a quarter of a bonita. That's probably one of my favorite grouper baits. The only drawback to it, it does attract some sharks. If you're fishing bonita slabs, you probably only get to fish that spot for 20, 30 minutes and you're gonna have to leave. Because you're gonna have a lot of friends that have a mouthful of teeth.
You just hook that through the end of it?
Yep, I normally hook it through because I'm gonna split it this way, and I hook it through the tail section where the meatier section is not where the hook is. That way I have a little bit better hookup ratio. And if you split this in half and make 2 baits out of it, and then kind of split the piece where the tail flips through the water like this, that will help you get bites also. And I don't know if any of y'all ever black snapper fish at the jetties, but if you do, grouper and amberjack and snapper fishing this way is just like black snapper fishing at the jetties. So if you go to the jetties to catch black snappers, if you're gonna catch 6 black snappers, you need at least 3 dozen shrimp. Because what we're gonna do is we're gonna stand on the rocks and the current's gonna be going one way or the other. And we're gonna take that live shrimp and we're gonna hook him on with just a hook and maybe a little pinch weight. And we're not gonna throw him away from the rocks. We're gonna throw him up current along the side of the rocks, and we're gonna let that shrimp just slowly drift by like this. And the black snappers, they're actually up underneath the rocks. So you're gonna pitch him out up there, and he's gonna be coming along like this. Well, as your live shrimp is drifting along, 100 pinfish are gonna swim up to him, and you're just gonna gnaw it away to nothing, and by the time you get here, your shrimp is gone. We're gonna hook another shrimp on, you're gonna do the same thing. And it comes by and the pinfish stealing. Now, you're gonna hook the 3rd shrimp on, you're gonna throw him up there, and the pinfish all run out after him, and they're kind of attacking him, and all of a sudden the pinfish just go, and they're gone. Well, when that happens, hang on, because the black snapper's coming. They're smarter than the pinfish. They're gonna hang out and watch this all going on. So they see that the pinfish have figured out, okay, this is cool to eat. So then all of a sudden the pinfish run, here comes the black snapper and he eats it. Well, when we're grouper fishing or snapper fishing or amberjack fishing, it's the same thing, but you can't see it happening. So you're gonna run that bait down there and you're gonna feel all this little tip, 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 just little pecky bites, just bip, 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 bip. Don't worry about that, just let it go. And if they get it all off and all of a sudden the pecking quits, well, you know now that you're gonna reel it up and you're just gonna have a piece of skin and all the meat's gone. Reel it up, put another piece on, run it back down again, and you'll start feeling the little pecking. Then all of a sudden the pecking, while it's pretty violent, it just stops. At that point in time, when it stops pecking, you can take your hand and put it on the handle because the bite's coming. Just a second, after a little, you'll just feel it go, and we got him, and just reel. Don't set the hook, don't try to lift the rod, just hold the rod, reel, and go as hard as you can go. So it works the same way as black snapper fishing at the jetties. We're just doing it where we can't see it happen, but you can feel that same thing happening. But bonitas are just they're one of my favorite baits. If you don't have these little rod holder things for your boat, you need these. My anglers today would not have survived. You know, everybody wants to go jack fishing until they go jack fishing and they catch one. So they're like, oh, let's go, we want to catch an amberjack. Okay, we went and caught them. Well, this one on this trip, but it was the same group of people about a week ago. We had a guy that on the boat that day that he had never been before, and he caught a big old amberjack that day. And the owner of the boat and one of his buddies, they smoke cigarettes. Well, their other buddy that was with him, he doesn't smoke cigarettes. Well, he didn't smoke cigarettes and he didn't drink. Well, he catches this big old jack. Man, this thing just kicked his butt. Even with one of the little rod thingies. And you can see where you just lay the rod up on it and just reel. This is actually the owner of the boat from today that we were with. But after he caught that big old jack, he went and sat on the stern of the boat there and he looked at Brandon and goes, "Do you have any more cigarettes?" He goes, "Yeah." He says, "Can I have one of those?" He goes, "What about them beers I was drinking? You got an extra one of them? I'll take one of those too." And he sat back there, drank a beer and smoked a cigarette, and he doesn't do either one, but he was just that beat down. But the little rod rest make life so much easier. They come in a kids and ladies version, which is a little shorter, and then the standard version, the standard adult height. But having a couple of these, catching bigger fish, all you got to do is lay the rod in it. If you have a hollow rod, you need to make sure you lay the foregrip on this thing. If you lay it on the hollow rod itself, you're going to break the rod. Don't do that. But if you have a solid glass rod, this happens to be one of my personal rods. This is what we caught the 45-pound amberjack on today. It's a Talica 16. It's spooled with 80-pound mono, and this is a real light, flexible, solid glass rod. This one has the little wood block that we put on the front, and this is just so like if this was the gunnel of the boat or one of the little rod thingies, all you have to do is put this up against it, push, downward pressure. You know, most people, they hurt their back because they're trying to lift the fish. This is designed to put it against the gunnel of the boat and or the rod rest. You put it right up against the little wood block, press downward pressure, and do nothing but turn the handle, just like in the little video. This was catching about this was a 30 or 40 pound grouper, and Randy is just doing it just perfect, just sitting there, just reel. But that's what I like. I like a flexible rod that I can feel the bite. And we had these things, I mean, they were just bent into noodles, catching the jacks that we were getting today.
So he's got 2 speed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's in low gear and just cranking away.
Short enough to go. It's not.
Oh, and to go along with your thing, with your rod thing, the rod cushions, these are so much easier and more convenient than a rod belt. A rod belt goes around you and gets you into this position right here. This is going to really hurt your back, because this is putting all the pressure into your back, engaging back here. This is how everybody gets a bad back from fishing. And we can do this, we can come up here after the seminar and somebody come up here and grab this rod if you want to see this little demo. But I guarantee you, if you hold it like this, which is what most people seem to want to do, I'll give you the rod, you hold it like this, and I'll pull the tip and I'll just pull you right over. So easy. But if you'll take and move that rod from here and get it over here on your hip, now we're disengaging your back and engaging your thigh muscles. We're much more stable when the boat's rocking, and we've engaged the biggest muscles in our body, and we can fight the fish from here. If you put the rod over here on your hip and I pull on the tip, I cannot pull you over. But I promise you, if you're holding it like this, I can pull you right over. Another thing that happens when we do it this way, our arm gets extended and we have no power. When we get over here, our arm is a little bent. We have a lot more power right in here. But this is by far better than any kind of rod belt you can, unless you're going to go to a full harness system where you have a belt and a shoulder harness or a kidney harness. These little gadgets here, I don't know, they're 12, 14 bucks. Way better than any expensive fighting belt that you can have. Questions before I keep going? So whether it's snappers, which you can see the red snappers, chum and they will come. This is rodeo fishing, any time of the year fishing. Chumming is just awesome, especially the tunas. We didn't catch one today. Wish we would have. We tried for a little while for blackfins. We were running from where the blackfins should have been to where we were jack fishing, and we saw there was a lot of, we were flying along at 40 miles an hour, and I looked out in front of the boat, and all of a sudden he just erupted with tunas. I'm like, oh my God, pull it back out of gear. Run, and everybody's like, whoa. And I'm running, and everybody's kind of sitting around because I was driving. I pull it back, and I run up to the front of the boat because the fly line rod's up front. I run up there, grab it, run to the back of the boat, hook a bait on, and throw it out behind the boat. And everybody's looking at me like, what? I'm like, y'all did not see all the tunas? If there weren't yellowfins in that, when we were only about 40 miles offshore, if there weren't yellowfins in with those blackfins, they were the biggest blackfins, some of them were the biggest blackfins I've ever seen. And that's what I told everybody on the bus. Y'all see that? Well, sure enough, Mark here sends me a photo shortly. That was shortly after we weighed in. They weighed that in. The OCD comes in the rodeo. Now they weren't in the rodeo, but they came by for a courtesy weight. They're a smaller charter boat. I don't think they were probably out there. Definitely weren't out there more than 40 miles. How big was the yellowfin they caught?
102 pounds.
102-pound yellowfin. So now that really reinforces the fact that the fish that I saw today were yellowfins that were just 40 miles offshore, because they weren't. That boat was not where, normally we catch yellowfins in that no closer than 60-mile range, but normally more that 80 to 200-mile range. So now I feel even more confident that the fish that I saw jumping today, there was definitely blackfins in there, but there were yellowfins in there also, and they were only about 40 miles offshore. But we were so close, when that happened, we were only 7/10 from where I was actually going. And we were fishing down pretty close to the nipple, and the fish that we saw busted were out there in about 450 feet of water, and then we were fishing where it starts to come back up and was in about 360. But we were only 7/10 from where we were going, so I said, well guys, let's just go on to where we were gonna go. We'll go there and jackfish, and we'll go ahead and put out some fly lines, and hopefully we'll catch a tuna that way, because hopefully they'll just come over there. And we had a bunch of them little baits, and I would just randomly go back there in the live well and scoop up about 5 or 6 of them little bitty baits that I knew we weren't going to use for much else, and just pitch them out as live bait behind the boat as live chum. But we never got lucky and caught a tuna today. But chumming is just so effective way of catching snappers, jacks, tunas, mahis, king mackerel. One that I didn't put in here, talking about the rodeo, that just reminded me. King mackerel are a huge part of the Destin Rodeo. The rodeo truly was built on king mackerel fishing back in the day. Our biggest prize categories, we have all of our, if you just enter in the rodeo, you're eligible for everything that's up on the big board. Well, we have 3 different king mackerel things. We have the Ronald McDonald king mackerel. We have the AJ's king mackerel. What's the other one? I know there's 3.
There's a deli king mackerel.
Oh yeah, the daily king mackerel. So you can enter in these 3 different king mackerel things, and there's normally in most years there's somewhere around $30,000 to $40,000 to be won for the biggest king mackerel. Generally speaking, in the summertime we would go out there to king mackerel fish, and it's cigar minnows and herring. And yes, you can catch a 40 or 50 pound king mackerel on a cigar minnow or a herring, but it's not the norm. A bigger king mackerel, he wants a bigger profile bait. Live mullet, live hardtails, live bluefish, and live ladyfish are the prime baits. And I can tell you that more times than not, the winning king mackerel is going to come off some of these bigger southeastern rocks. We were fishing west today, but I feel like that southeast is a much better direction for big king mackerel. There's a couple of the big rocks down to the southeast. Billy Sexton that used to own Sexton Seafood, there's one particular rock down there. Billy will fish for 31 days in the rodeo, and he will be on that same rock every single day that it's fishable for his boat. And he will go out there with big baits, and he's fishing for 1 bite per day. If you go out there to those big rocks and you carry a bunch of cigar minnows out there, yes, you can go out there and catch 20 king mackerel, but they're all going to be 10 to 20 pounders. Well, a 20 pounder is not going to win. I'm telling you, it's going to take a 40 pound plus fish, and it might take a 50 pound fish. And if you fish with cigar minnows and herring, you're going to catch a lot of fish, and you might catch a big one. But we don't need a lot of bites. We just need 1 or 2 good bites per day. And that's the difference between, there's another charter boat we have called the Huntress. My understanding is that he fishes for blackfin tuna in the rodeo, and that's all he does for the entire month. Now they catch other species, because where we catch the blackfins, there could be jacks or snappers or whatever else in the same areas. But he's going to tuna fish for 31 straight days. And there's days where he only has 1, 2, or 0 tunas. But there's a lot of other days that he's going to come to the dock with 10, 12, 15 blackfin a day. It can be boring, whether you're fishing for the big amberjack or the big king mackerel or the big tuna or whatever big species it is, because we're not fishing for quantity, we're fishing for quality. And bigger baits produce bigger fish. But that's what I wanted to go over, the king mackerel thing.
You didn't find him today. He came back with all amberjacks.
He did? I saw him out there. We fished the same place. But again, live mullet, ladyfish, ribbon fish are another good one. You can't get live ribbon fish, but you can get frozen ribbon fish. And I don't know if I have a picture of a bluefish. I actually don't have a picture of bluefish, but this time of year, if you get some little, like the straw rigs that we troll for Spanish in the spring, or some little spoons, troll around the jetties, inside and outside the pass, go troll some of the snorkel reefs. You can catch bluefish, bigger hardtails, ladyfish, all of which make great king mackerel bait. And then of course, cast net and live mullet in the bay. And there's everybody's dock I walk out on in the mornings right now. If you walk out on the dock in the morning and you're really quiet, especially getting out there early before the sun comes and looking in the lights, there's mullet on every dock. And they're from this size mullet to big giant roe mullet. They're on every dock in the harbor. We were here at Legendary about a week ago. Man, I walked out there. I could have thrown the cast net one time. I don't know if 3 of us could have picked it up. There's so many mullet. But bigger baits equal bigger fish. And that's what we're really looking for fishing in the rodeo. You know, That is, you know, if you're planning on winning the rodeo. Question. Doesn't have to be about something I covered. You got what do you need to know? What do you think you need to know to be more successful fishing in the rodeo this year?
How about gutting them?
So gutting your fish. You need to have your fish gutted before you get to the weigh-in dock. You want to start at their anal fin, cut all the way up, either to the two pec fins. You can cut through there. That's very hard to do without a serrated knife. Or you can come up to those little pec fins and cut through the side and have your fish gutted before you get to the weigh dock. It's important because there's a lot of we got there today, we were lucky. There was one boat in front of us. There was nobody behind us when we first got there. Another boat did get there before we left. But if you get there mid-afternoon, it's not so busy. If you get there at 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, man, it's busy down there. They're trying to get boats in and out, because people need to get back, get their fish clean, get their passengers off. They got to charter the next day, or if they're a private boat, they got to be at work the next day. So being prepared when you get there. But from anal gland up through, gut your fish, have him ready. Gut him at the last, have him gutted when you get to the rodeo dock, but gut him at the last, when the boat in front of you pulls in, that's your cue to get the fish out, gut them, and get them back into the ice. When you pull up on the dock, pull them out of the ice, go straight to the dock. You'll see it all the time. The charter boats pull up and they've got their fish gutted and sitting in garbage cans. Those fish are not going to weigh as much. Put him back, once you gut him, put him back in the ice. As soon as you get up to the dock, take one out, throw him up on the dock, let him weigh that one. As soon as they get that one, they're weighing, say you got 4 species. They're weighing the first one. Well, when they start to take the first one down, be getting the second one up there. Be ready so you don't slow down the process, but as soon as they put the fish up on the scale, they're calling the weight on that one. Now it's time to get your next fish out as that one comes down, and it's just kind of this little roundy round process. But having your fish gutted, very, very important. Also, you can go, when you're coming home, check the app, or check the website. Go on DestinFishingRodeo.org. Click on Winners. Then under Winners, I don't have that on my thing. But click on Winners, and then you can click on Overall or Daily. You click on the Overall, it brings you up a whole list of what's winning in the divisions. So now, okay, I got this king mackerel, I think he's about 30 pounds or so. I wonder what the daily is. Well, you look up, okay, the daily is 20 pounds. I can win the daily. The overall is at 50 pounds. Okay, I can't beat 50, but I can get a daily. Now there's ladies, seniors, juniors, overall category. Where can my fish go? Be prepared before you get there. That will make the whole process go much, much faster. Check your paperwork. There's multiple places that fish can go, but one fish can't win ladies, junior, senior, and overall. He's going to go in one of those. So if you want him, the judges may say, oh, okay, private 25 and under, because your boat's under 25. So they say private 25 and under. Well, that means it's an overall. If you want it in ladies, you need to specify, I want my fish in ladies, or senior, or junior. And so the judges are on the dock are going to be filling out the paperwork. Bruce is going to call the weight of your fish. Before they take it down, if you want to look at the scale, double check the weight. And then when it's all said done with, you're the captain, you're going to sign. Well, when you sign, that's where that fish is going. Make sure that it's when it's, look under the category on the piece of paper and make sure that you're looking at, okay, I wanted my fish in the ladies division or the junior division. Because if you call back up in an hour, because you see it on the, you go back and look on that little rodeo thing and you see your fish is under ladies when you wanted it under junior, we can't go back and fix that. You signed the paperwork. That's a way of keep getting people not to try to play the system. So make sure you watch that because we have it every year. The other thing that I would encourage everybody to do is download the Fish Rules app. It doesn't work when you're offshore, but you can pull up the different species. It gives you a very good picture, tells you the size limits, the seasons, and you can screenshot those. I know 3 different people last year who either they had, one of them had the winning Almaco jack, but they thought it was an amberjack because they didn't have a good picture. They threw it back or didn't weigh it in. But they had the winning, because I saw the picture and they had a picture of it and they had weighed it. And, I mean, they would have won the Almaco by probably 5 or 6 pounds. I know somebody that did the same thing with a blackfin tuna that they caught, and they thought it was a bonita. And I can't remember what the third fish was, but they had was it a Spanish? I don't remember. I don't remember what the third one was, but 3 different people that I know that come to the shop all the time had the winning fish and misidentified it and didn't even think to weigh it in. And they had came to the weigh dock that day and weighed other species, but they didn't know weigh, and all 3 of them would have been winners. But having Fish Rules and downloading that before you go fishing and taking some snapshots to make sure you know what the species are you're catching. Little tip, and anybody who wants to come up and take a picture of this afterwards, when you're making your circle hook rigs, when you're making dropper loop rigs, I see people do this all the time. There is a wrong way and a right way to put a circle hook on a dropper loop rig. If you're fishing for triggers and mingos and you go through the back of the eye like this, your hook sits the wrong direction, half the bites you get, you'll miss the fish. Needs to be this is correct. Goes through the front of the eye of the hook. This is wrong. That's one that I see people mess up all the time. If you have a downrigger, this is a way to catch multiple different species. It works for kings, it works for jacks, it works for tunas, it works for mahi. A downrigger can catch you a lot of extra fish over the course of the month by being able to fish slower speeds, bigger baits, and control the depth of your bait. So you go out there and you're on the southwest edge, well, it's pretty hard, you're not just gonna put a cigar minnow or bait over the side with an egg sinker and drop it down there and try to troll along there, but you can be on the edge and you're marking fish consistently at 150 feet of water. Well, we can put our downriggers down there and put one bait at 150, put one bait at 175, and put one bait at 100 and troll right down the edge. Great way to catch big jacks, big king mackerels, tunas. Downriggers will catch you a lot of extra fish. Are we ever going to have pin downriggers again? I guess that wasn't a question I was supposed to ask.
You can ask. I would say no at this stage.
As far as places to fish, Alex with the county has done a fantastic job. We've sank, we and being the county, and really Alex Fogg, have sank more reefs in the last 5 years than the county has sunk ever. I mean, just an endless sea of ships, pyramids. www.dustinfwb.com for Okaloosa Reefs has a full listing of all the things that they've dumped. I don't know what the vote was today, but it looked like everything was in place. We're finally going to get the big vote. Looks like we're going to get it. That's the USS America, I think, or something like that. It's going to be the largest shipwreck in the United States. It's almost 1,000-foot long wreck. There was some holdup. They had to get a judge involved. Originally, it was going to cost $9 million. It's all being paid with bed tax money. And then Santa Rosa County decided, hey, they wanted to get in the game and put a bid in for it in Escambia County. And anyway, then the people who have the boat, they were kind of trying to hold out for more money. And this is just my understanding, don't hold me all this, but a judge got involved. And anyway, today I wrote Alex a letter last night that they were going to submit in. They asked me to come and speak at the county commissioner meeting. I was fishing today, so I couldn't, but I wrote him a letter last night. They were going to put that in there and into the documentation, but I felt like that everything was going to get done today and the monies were approved. It is going to cost us $10.5 million instead of $9 million, but we have plenty of money in the coffer kitty right now from the bed tax money. And like Alex said about a week ago, said, if we lose the big ship, don't fret. I have multiple and many and an unexhausting supply of ships that are going to be sank in this area. But it looks like we're going to get the big one. But this is just a few of the wrecks that they've put out in the last couple years. But on that particular website, there's a full listing. There's a downloadable file. I encourage you to go there, get a list of those for places to fish. You know, this is part of the reef building program. We were out about 5 or 6 weeks ago. These were the Destin High School reefs. We put out a set last year. The high school was able to raise enough money this year to build 20 more of these. But the reef building program that's going on is giving us some of the best fishing that there is. I mean, the local reefs here will rival anybody in the state or the Gulf Coast. Now, we've been going for a while here, but I want to cover one more thing. This is a new safety issue. It's not complete yet, but I was able to use it today, and I was able to use it on my last 2 trips. If you have an iPhone, a model 12 or newer, and the new iOS 18 update. For years, we've done these seminars and we've talked about having a Garmin inReach as a safety device, because when you're outside of cell phone range, maybe you have a VHF and you're trying to get a hold of somebody, but the Garmin inReach will text from anywhere in the world. It's a $500 unit. It'll text anywhere from the world. It has about a $15 a month subscription fee, and you can turn it on and off. It is far more reliable than the iPhone system that's out there. So don't let me to tell you that the iPhone is a complete replacement for it yet. It will be. It works. Like I say, I used it today. We were 25 miles offshore, and I texted my wife, and I told her, hey, we're going to be at the Rodeo scale between 1:45 and 2 o'clock if you want to come down and see us weigh in. By the way, we're 24 miles from home. This is when we're going to be there. Well, it's a text by satellite. So when you don't have cell phone service, it works really good on land. I can't tell you how many people in North Carolina right now are communicating with all their loved ones that, hey, we're okay, we don't have food, can you please help us, blah, blah, blah. they're using this service on their iPhone. And right now it's free. And it texts via satellite. It will, if you're out of cell phone range and you're trying to send a text, if you're in an area that has good coverage, it will automatically pop up and look just like this on your phone. If you're not where there's good satellite coverage at the time, there won't be anything there and it won't have that ability to text at that point. But if you're in your boat and you go another couple miles, this little screen will go from being black up here to say satellite is available, and at that point you can text. It's not nearly as fast as regular texting. You type out a text and you send, it's going to take between 1 and 2 minutes to send it. It's the same thing with your Garmin inReach. It's not just immediate like a regular text message.
What are they gonna have it for Android?
That's up to Android. This is an iPhone thing. And I'm sure that Android will have it. Right now, this is free service. You don't pay anything extra for it. If you have a 12 or newer and the iOS 18 update, it's in your phone now. From what I understand, that once they have this up, running, perfected, probably in about 2 years, maybe 1 year, maybe 3 years, there is going to be an extra monthly cost for it, just like there would be with your Garmin inReach. And it's probably going to be in the same price range, that $12 to $15 extra per month. But it doesn't require you to have an extra device. So you already have an iPhone, it's already going to work. And like I say, I'm sure that the Android people are going to have it too at some point. But that's a cool new safety thing that you just need to, even if you have a Garmin inReach now, when you're out there, test this out, play with it, see how it works. You can't have too much safety stuff on the boat, whether it's a quality first aid kit, whether it's an extra radio, VHF, a Garmin inReach, your iPhone that you can text with from anywhere, because we want everybody to come home safe. We don't want any more missing people like the diver that we lost last week. You don't want to go get the little roundy round.
Does that just automatically pop up, you say, when you get out so far?
Once you're outside of cell phone range, if you have currently, when you have cell service, it won't pop up. It's only when you don't have service. So like you could, like when you're driving, maybe you're going to go to Birmingham, and you go up through Crestview and Florala, and you got that little piece where you got to go through Geneva and all. You're not going to have cell phone service through that little area. You'll have satellite service. It works on land. It works great. All the people in North Carolina, this is how they're communicating right now.
I've never seen it pop up before, is what I was asking.
Yeah.
Probably in service range.
I need to check the software too. You said iOS 18?
Yep. You have to have the latest update.
And it comes up automatically?
Yes.
When you lose cell service?
Yes.
It's a $20
Nope.
gig.
And if you're not in an area that doesn't have good satellite, it may not show up. But if you have satellite, it will show up. Yes, sir.
Tim, on that satellite iOS 18, the person you're sending it to has to have the same compatible. They have to have the iOS 18 and the 12 and later, from what I read.
Okay.
With the Apple
Yeah. I think that
description of it.
I think that is
Everybody's got to have it that can send and receive.
Right.
From what I read.
and I'm not sure. What am I thinking about? So I think on an iPhone, if I'm on land and I have service and I send it to you and you don't have service but you have satellite, you will still get it. On a Garmin inReach, when you go from an inReach to a phone, the inReach has to initiate the conversation. And then you could respond back because the inReach doesn't have a phone number, so that doesn't go from phone to, because the phone needs to know what it's texting back to. But with an inReach, I have to text you and then you can text me back by phone. With the phone to phone, I think it works. If I have service and she doesn't, I send a message, it will still get to her. I think. This is very new technology. It's only been out like a week, 10 days, maybe 2 weeks at the most. So I am not an expert on it yet, but it's a great safety feature that I want to make everybody aware of.
Are they using Starlink satellites?
They're using just regular Go satellites, Starlink satellites. I think Starlink will have a very similar system very, very soon. Questions about anything?
What about satellite phones? Have you used those?
Not much because they're so expensive.
They are expensive.
Phone's expensive, service is expensive. The Garmin InReach is so inexpensive. It integrates with your Garmin, your phone. Satellite phones are kind of a thing of the past because of other technologies. They still work great, but
Yeah,
they're just, a good satellite phone is going to cost you
$1,000.
at least.
Yeah.
And then the service can easily run you $100 to $300 a month.
Yep.
And so very, very expensive.
When you sent the text, it said below it's sent by satellite.
Yeah. Well, we have lots of goodies to give away tonight. We'll get some of my.
You need to move those pin rods over on this
Yeah,
side.
move them over there for giveaways.
Oh, I'm gonna give away Tim.
Yeah, we're gonna give away Tim's too.
You ready?
Sure, we'll start off. Kevin he's with Pin Rods and Reels. Kevin's also with Berkeley. What other lines do you got?
Ugly stick,
Fenwick, Ugly.
Savage Gear.
So we're coming into the fall and winter season. He brought us some cool little Berkeley gulps that we got 5 packs of these that we're going to give away. So let's do these first.
Lynn Caswell.
Glenn? Here you go. He's over here playing with his satellite stuff on his iPhone.
Yeah, they were just telling me that that's the iPhone 14 and newer, not 12 inch.
Is it 14 and newer?
That's what,
Okay.
I don't have the somewhere along in there.
Nate Beard.
There you go.
Hey, Tim, have Flounder started migrating yet?
I've been seeing pictures on Facebook the last couple days.
Lane Paxton.
Lane? Oh, here you go. Yes, sir.
Joel Paxton.
Man, y'all making out like bandits. Joel. You Joel Paxton? John?
Yeah, everybody's gonna get some. Then you get the $100 rebate.
Ashley Beard.
I know.
Y'all are doing good. All right, so we got some Freedom Life apparel. We'll do these 4 next.
I got Sarah Powell.
What is it?
Freedom Life apparel.
You got the XL? Or you back? Oh, I got another.
Mikey Anderson, all Aulerson.
Extra medium, extra medium, extra medium.
Got large or extra large?
I'll take the XL. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Greg T-Man.
Large is perfect. Thank you.
Brianna Miller.
Here we go.
Thank you.
All right, then we got some legendary shirts here with hats.
Aaron
There we go.
Thank you.
Scott Miller.
That one's medium, that one's extra large.
All right.
Harry Paxton. Whole family.
Medium, extra large.
That one's small, so we got two people that divide for that one.
Levi Bracewell.
Size you got?
That's the bigger one. And this one's a small.
Oh, he said small. What size are you?
Oh,
Yeah, I'm small. Thank you.
John Walters.
John. And then the last thing that we got is a full release kit for someone, whoever wins this, go watch the video even though you're getting a kit.
Vaughn Knight.
Thanks, Tim.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it, bro.
Bag of nomads. Let's go.
Actually, I'm hoping to have the Nomad guy here for next month's seminar. Next month, we'll be covering winter wahoo, mahi, and tuna fishing. This is tentative. Don't hold us to this just yet. Legendary they actually put out a Facebook thing about this seminar, and I think some people think it's tomorrow night. It's always the first Tuesday of the month, and somehow they had on there October 2nd. I had it on mine as being October 1st. They had it as being October 2nd, so I think some people didn't realize that the seminar was actually tonight, so we have a little bit of a light crowd, but that's okay. Things happen. But next month's seminar, none of us thought about it until I thought about it tonight. And I should have thought about it about 2 weeks ago. We had the awards banquet for the Destin Fishing Rodeo scheduled for November the 5th, which was a Tuesday, which was the same night as the seminar is supposed to be. We realized that about 2 weeks ago, and I didn't even think about the seminar. That's election night. So 2 weeks ago, we moved the awards party for the Destin Fishing Rodeo to be Wednesday, November 6th, and we're in the process of getting word out for that. But we won't be able to do next month's seminar. I don't think it'd be good to do it on election night, because if y'all are all like me, you're going to be glued to the TV hoping that we get some sort of good news out of this deal. And good news could be different depending on who you are. I mean, one could be good for you and one could be good for me. But that's here nor there. But so right now I talked to the guys here at Legendary, and the tentative plan is we're going to get this out and let everybody know, but we're probably going to do it on Tuesday, November the 12th. We're just going to move it back a week. But that'll be covering winter, wahoo, dolphin, and tuna. And we have an excellent, I actually think some of our best wahoo, dolphin, and tuna fishing of the year is in the wintertime, not the summertime. It's been didn't used to be that way. We didn't know we had, until the county put the fads out there, we did not know we actually had this winter fishery. And it's an extremely good fishery, and we'll talk about that part of offshore fishing for the three species, and then we'll also cover some January, February, and early March blackfin tuna fishing that actually happens very, very close to the beach, up on the Navarre kayak reefs and that general area down there. That's a separate from the offshore tuna fishery. We got the offshore tuna fishery and the inshore tuna. So we'll kind of cover both of those at that seminar. But
Is that the last one for the season?
that'll be the last one. The next one, then we'll start back up in February. Don't have them in December because everybody's busy with Christmas. And then for Legendary, they're busy with boat shows in January. And so we just kind of skipped those 2 months. Well, before we let everybody go, any last questions?
I'll have these up here. If you got any questions, you can come touch them, feel them, whatever. I'll hang around for a little bit.
Cool. Well, guys, thanks for coming out tonight. Hope you learned something and had a good time.